The candidates who were disqualified after the thorough review process are Mr. Samuel Appiah Dankwa, an independent candidate, Miss Janet Nabela, an independent candidate, Mr. Desmond Abrefa, an independent candidate, Nana Jepong Stevens, an independent candidate, Mr. Paul Peko, an independent candidate, Mr. Bernard Mona of the People's National Convention, James Kwesi Opong, an independent candidate, Mr. Samuel Sapong Ankra, an independent candidate, Mr. Nia Mudaku, an independent candidate, and Mr. Asamoah Siao of the Progressive People's Party. It is important to note that the candidate for the Progressive Alliance for Ghana, Mr. John Kweku Pikpi, withdrew his nominations after the filing process. And here, I would like to briefly take us through the findings. Mr. Mahamadou Bawumia of the MPP satisfied all the requirements and was cleared by the two committees established to do so. Mr. Kofi Akpalu initially had issues with his tax certificate. However, he was provided an opportunity to correct it, and the issues were resolved, and he was cleared by the committee. Mr. Christian Andrews of the Ghana Union Movement initially had incomplete details for his vice presidential candidate and incomplete records for some of the supporters. The issues were, however, resolved after he was provided with an opportunity to correct same. Mr. Kwame Bediako initially had no tax clearance certificate for his vice presidential candidate, and the photo size that he presented was not a postcard. However, he corrected these issues and was cleared by the committee. Mr. George Chumberima Edu, an independent candidate, had no symbol and colors to represent himself. However, he was provided with an opportunity, and the issues were resolved within the nomination period, and he was cleared by the committee. Mr. Hassan Ayariga presented only one completed nomination form. The other two did not have some pages, I think from page 137 to 142. The issues, he was presented with these findings, and he went on to correct them, and he was cleared by the committee. Mr. John Dramani Mahama of the NDC satisfied all requirements and was cleared by the committee. Mr. Alan Kojo Tremanting, independent candidate, satisfied all requirements and was cleared by the committee. Madam Ekuya Donko of the Ghana Freedom Party also resolved issues to do with her nomination. She was subsequently cleared by the committee. Mr. Daniel Augustus Latte also had a number of issues to do with his form. The issues were, however, resolved, and he was cleared by the committee. Madam Akosua Frimpoma Kwamankama had a number of issues, and these issues were brought to her attention and the attention of the party, and they were able to satisfy the requirements, and the committee cleared them. Mohammed Frimpong of the NDP also had a number of issues ranging from a non-submission of a tax clearance certificate for the vice presidential candidate and incomplete particulars of some supporters. The issues were resolved within the nomination period, and he was cleared by the committee. Mr. Kofi Koranting also had a number of issues, including the use of registered voters in a particular district to support the nomination in another district. His issues were, however, brought to his attention, and he rectified them and was cleared by the candidate. So these are the 13 candidates who were cleared by the two committees. Mr. Samuel Apiadankwa, independent candidate, was however presented with a number of issues to resolve, including not filing a tax certificate for his vice presidential candidate. And then some of his pages were omitted from the form, and he had incomplete particulars for some of his supporters. Unfortunately, though he was provided with the opportunity to correct this, he was unable to do so, and the committee recommended that he be disqualified. Ms. Janet Asana Nabila also used the registration details of particular voters to support her nomination, the registration details of supporters in certain districts to support her nomination in other districts. Again, the vice presidential candidate did not sign the nomination form. The issues were, however, not resolved, and the committees recommended that she be disqualified. Mr. Desmond Abrifa, an independent candidate, he also used the registration details of voters in a particular district to support the nomination in other districts. He was presented with these findings, but was not able to resolve them, and the committee required or requested that he be disqualified. Nana Japon Stevens, an independent candidate, also used the registration details of voters in a particular district to support the nomination in other districts. In addition, he had incomplete particulars for supporters. He was not responsive to the nomination requirements, and the committee required and asked that he be disqualified. Mr. Bernard Mona also had incomplete particulars on supporters. He also used registered voters in a particular district to support the nomination in other districts. His form also contained varying signatures for the same supporters, and in some cases the same signature for different supporters. The committee was of the view that he be disqualified. Mr. Paul Perko, an independent candidate, had incomplete particulars for his supporters, and he also used registered voters in a particular district to support the nomination in other districts, and the committee recommended that he be disqualified. Mr. James Opong, an independent candidate, his statutory declaration was not notarized. Additionally, he used registered voters in a particular district to support the nomination in other districts, and the committees recommended that he be disqualified. Mr. Samuel Sapong Ankara, an independent candidate, also used registered voters in a particular district to support the nomination of other districts, and he was not able to effect the corrections of this, and the committees recommended that he be disqualified. Mr. Niamudaku, the committee found that his forms were incomplete, and again he also used registered voters in a particular district to support the nominations in other districts, and the committee recommended that he be disqualified. Last but not least is Mr. Kofi Asamoah of the People's Progressive Party. He used registered voters in a particular district to support the nomination in other districts. Additionally, he had incomplete particulars of some of the supporters, and he was unable to satisfactorily correct these anomalies, and the committee recommended that he be disqualified. As mentioned earlier, the candidate for the Progressive Alliance Ghana, Mr. Pipi, withdrew after the filing process. He did file, but prior to the decisions being made, he withdrew his nomination forms. We would like to wish all the qualified candidates the best of luck in their bid to ascend the high office of the presidency. We urge all candidates to engage in a decent campaign, a campaign based on policies and programs that will lead to the betterment of our society. As referees, our role is simply to arrange and organize orderly, fair, transparent, and credible elections. We assure you that we are working to do just that. To the aspiring presidential candidates who did not make this process, we wish you better luck next time. Your filing fee would be refunded to you. And to all of you, our distinguished citizens, we thank you for believing in us and for walking this journey with us. We pledge that we will conduct ourselves in truth and integrity and organize free, fair, credible, transparent elections come December 7th, 2024. We will not let you down. On your part, we charge you to uphold and defend the good name of Ghana and her institutions. So help us, God. May God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. Let peace reign.